What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to go through a tier list of all the shoes I've tested so far this year. Obviously, as you can see, we've got the tier maker open. I'd say let's get straight into it because we've got, I think, 46 shoes which I've tested. Of course, this is also my personal opinion, so you might disagree with some takes I have here on my list. And just a quick overview, we have the S tier, of course, that's a perfect shoe, nothing wrong with it, no complaints, really enjoy playing them. A tier is like also close to perfect shoe, just there's one thing holding it back. Then the B tier is like a good overall shoe with some downsides, and the C tier is like a decent shoe with a lot of room to improve. And the last category is going to be no. It's, as it says, just a no for me. I don't like playing them. With that being said, let's get straight into it. Start with a pair I only recently got. I haven't uploaded my full review yet. It's the Wade 8084, and for me, those are an A tier shoe. They're really close to an S tier. The only thing holding them back for me is the fit. They're extremely narrow and I have very wide feet. Then another A tier shoe. No, you know what? Let's put them in S tier. I really enjoyed playing in the All City 12. The All City 12 Encore is also out there, not available in my size yet, but I got a pair for an unboxing and they felt even better. So I had no complaints for the All City 12 and probably the Encore is going to be even better. The next pair, the Anthony Edwards one, probably one of the best first signature shoes ever. Also definitely an S tier for me. Even though the weight is a little bit high for my liking, I still really enjoy playing in them. Then we're going to the Puma All Pro Nitro. Those also would be an S tier, but there's one thing holding them back, which is traction performance on dusty courts and just dust pickup in general. If you get them, make sure to get a pair with a translucent outsole. Then we have the Rigora AR1. I'm going to put them in B tier. They're a really solid shoe all around. Every category is solid. I would rate them a B in every category. They're just not an A or an S tier shoe, but I have high hopes for the Rigora AR2. Then we have the 361 Big Free Future. I'm also going to put them into the B tier. I also really enjoyed playing with them, but there's also some things holding them back. For example, the cushioning setup needs a lot of time to break in. The fit is relatively narrow as well, and the materials are also quite stiff at first. So just some things holding them back from that A tier. Now, maybe a little bit of a surprise, the Nike Book 1 for me, personally, an S tier shoe. I absolutely love playing them. I just practiced in the Book 1 in the first practice of preseason yesterday evening. And I have a second pair here next to me. I just like them so much. I'm also thinking about getting this rattlesnake colorway. Then moving on to the next shoe. I haven't tried the Curry 12 sadly. I heard they're really good. The Curry 11 for me is an A tier performer. The things that are holding them back is, for one, durability. For two, the comfort. For me, the flow setup is just a little bit too low to the ground and it bottoms out very quickly. So at first they're very comfy and then they get really stiff and low to the ground. Of course, it's nice for a shooter like Steph, but I just prefer a little bit more foam or impact protection all around. Because for the Book 1, for example, we have a very low setup in the forefoot, which is nice, but then we have a really soft and comfy heel area, which is something I wish the Currys had as well. Now, for the GD Cut Academy, I was debating of putting them in A or B, and I think it's going to be a B tier, simply because they also lack some main elements. They're an amazing outdoor shoe, but they also don't have a full-length cushioning setup. They're not the softest, so I think for me it's a B tier shoe. Also, the fit is not the best for my feet. So for me personally, I know a lot of you guys will say it's probably an A or even an S tier shoe for some of you, but for me it's right there in the B tier. Same for the Dame 8 X-Deploy. A little bit heavy, a little bit clunky. They trap a lot of heat inside of the shoe. That's at least what I noticed. So that's why I put them in B tier. Then the Dawn Issue 5, another B tier shoe in my opinion from Adidas. Just not quite there for an A tier or an S tier. Lacks a little bit of cushioning setup and the materials are really stiff as well. Moving on to another shoe from 361. I think those are actually going to go into the A tier. The 361 DVD 2 SE. That's the toy colorway you can see here. Really cool design, great traction performance, nice low to the ground cushioning setup, great support, like really great support. They have a very interesting system on the tongue or on the laces, keeping them tightened together, and the material is also pretty comfortable out of the box. So just a few minor details holding them back from being an A tier. For one, also the fit for me, but everything else pretty good about this shoe. Then the Fresh Foam BB Volume 2, I'm actually going to put them in S tier simply because I really enjoyed playing them. The cushioning setup is insanely comfortable. The materials are soft right out of the box. It's a synthetic leather. Traction performance is top tier. Maybe the only downside is that it's a little bit high off the ground, but still for me, it deserves this spot in the S tier category because I didn't mind it as much. I didn't notice it as much with other shoes that have that one big issue that's holding them back. For them, they're almost a near perfect shoe. Then we have the Under Armour Future X Elite. They are a B-tier performer for me. They have the same cushioning setup that the Currys use, the Flow outsole, so insane traction performance. Sometimes they even stop so hard that you trip over your own feet. But there's some other areas missing. I felt that I was lacking a little bit of the support just because the materials are so thin. They're sock-like, which is great for the fit and for just like the overall material feeling, but I felt like there was a little bit of support missing. And of course, the cushioning setup is also not the nicest, just in my personal opinion. Then we have this SPO Game One. This might come as a surprise. They're a C-tier shoe for me. I didn't really enjoy playing in them. The outsole needed insane amounts of break-in. They were a little bit stiff. Of course, the drop-in shoes are also not the best for my wide feet. And that's why I'm going to put them in C-tier. I really didn't enjoy playing with them as much. And then we have another pink shoe that's going to go just into the no category. Sadly, I had high hopes for them. The cushioning setup is the most stacked thing you'll ever find on a basketball shoe. But it doesn't really work. The materials are not meant to support such a high off-the-ground cushioning setup. Also, the support features of the shoe are just not there for such an insane cushioning setup, and that's why I wouldn't recommend playing in them. Then we have another shoe from Adidas that's going to go straight into the A tier, the Adidas Harden Volume 8. An amazing performer. For me personally, the fit is a little bit narrow, but for others, you should be good. They're an amazing performer. The Harden 7 is one of my all-time favorite shoes. I just wish they would have kept the exact same fit. Then I would like the 8s even better because the overall performance is better. Next up, we have two shoes from New Balance. Actually, the New Balance Hezi Low is going to go into the C tier, and it's going to be the same for the Kawhi 4. The Hezi Low was not the best performer, a solid budget option, but nothing really stands out about it. And the Kawhi 4 in the C tier might come as a big surprise because I know a lot of other reviewers and I know a lot of other guys commented on my reels, and a lot of guys of you really enjoyed the New Balance Kawhi 4. I just didn't really like them that much. They were stiff. I didn't like how the cushioning setup felt. The traction performance was not mind-blowing, was average, I would say. And I just couldn't handle the stiff cushioning setup, the stiff materials at first. And support features were decent, but also my heel would feel a little bit too high out of the shoe because the insole is too weird. It's kind of like a neoprene insole, which is kind of cool, but it was also weird because it was like lifting my heel up out of the shoe a little bit. So sadly, I just didn't really enjoy them all that much. Next up, we've got the Anta Kai 1, and I'm actually debating between B and A tier. I think they're also going to get the A tier spot. Just be aware that when you first get them, they're probably going to be around the B tier area, simply because they need a lot of time to be broken in. But apart from that, traction performance is very nice. The cushioning gets softer over time, as do the materials, and support features are also pretty nice. And I also like the design of the shoe that always plays a role as well, in my opinion. Then we have the Nike Zoom Freak 5. I'm going to give them a B tier, I think. I had them in my top 10 of 2023. But just because so many new shoes have come out, they've moved down a little bit on the ranks. They're extremely narrow if you have wide feet. The cushioning setup is nice, but it bottoms out very quickly. Traction performance was good, but durability is not the best. So as you can see, there's some nice things, but to every nice thing, there's also a downside. So that's really the perfect B tier shoe. Then we're going to take a look at the GT Hustle. Similar to the GT Hustle 3, it's going to be a no for me. Simply because the shoe doesn't have a shank plate. Similar to the Freeze, they don't have enough support for me. I don't like when shoes flex right in the middle of your foot. That shouldn't happen in any case because your foot does not flex there. You should have flex in the toe area, but not in the middle of your foot. That's exactly where you need more support. And the GT Hustle 2 sadly just doesn't have that. I really love the colorways, especially the pink one, but they're just not as good on court, sadly. Then we have another shoe that for performance would probably also go into the no area, but just because I like the looks of them so much, I know that's weird, but then I kind of also feel like I play better with them. The KD4, this is the All-Star colorway. They're going to retro the On Pearl colorway as well. They're extremely stiff. The materials are stiff. The cushioning setup is stiff. Almost everything about the shoe is very stiff, not too modern. Of course, it's also a shoe from a long time ago. But the traction performance kind of saves it because it's really a 10 out of 10, sticks to the court like crazy. And if you get them right off the box, they kind of have like that sound on them. It sounds like they're covered in glue or in honey when you put them on a wood floor. It's really a nice sound, and the traction performance kind of saves them because it's insanely good. So I'm going to put them in C tier. Now for the Luka Free, I think I'm going to put them in the B tier. I haven't finished testing them, just from my first impressions. I also uploaded a video on them, my first impressions video yesterday, so make sure to check that out if you haven't. But I believe they're going to be around the B tier, solid shoe overall, but nothing really that stands out apart from the support like it was with the Luka line in the past as well. Then moving on to another shoe from Nike, the Nike Jar 1 is going to go right into the A tier. Very, very good shoe overall. I just don't like that the materials are so stiff, but apart from that, a top tier performer in my opinion. Next up, probably also a shocking one, the Giannis Immortality 3 is a no for me. I know they're going to be a maybe even A tier performer for a lot of people, especially younger kids and younger players. But for me, I didn't like the cushioning setup, I didn't like the support, I hated the fit. They gave me like a real pain on the side of my foot where my feet are wide. I had like, what's it called, a bruise actually from the materials. So I really didn't enjoy playing in them. I know I do recommend the shoe actually for younger players, as I said, but just for players that need more impact protection, that have wide feet, stay away from these, even though they're a solid budget shoe. Then the Nike Sabrina 2. It's a hard decision between A and S tier, but I think they're going to go into the A tier simply because they lack impact protection and the materials wear down relatively quickly. Design-wise, it's an S tier shoe. Same goes for cushioning and the overall performance throughout the first couple of weeks of playing with them. But the more you play with them, the less cushioned they will be. Of course, that's usual for basketball shoes, but it goes really, really fast here on the Sabrina 2. And I also don't like how wrinkly the materials got, especially in the heel area. I fear that they will rip relatively quickly. Then we've got the Puma Scoot Zeros. They're probably going to go into the C tier, nothing too crazy. They felt decent on foot when I played with them at the 3x3 World Cup last week, but just not deserving of a higher spot. Maybe I also need to play with them a little bit more, but they're also relatively stiff, low to the ground. The materials are nice and soft like they're usually with Puma, but that's already it in my opinion. Then we've got the Wade Sunoflash, another shoe from Way of Wade, that's going to go right into the A tier. Really, really good performer. The only thing holding back is the torsional support in my opinion. They don't have a carbon fiber shank plate sadly, and the torsional support just isn't there, and that's why I wouldn't put them in S tier, even though I really, really liked them and played a lot with them throughout the summer. Then we have the Puma Stewie 3, and sadly, my bad, it's going to be a C tier shoe. They're not quite bad enough to be a no, but they're really narrow, insanely narrow because of the drop in midsole, naturally, but even more narrow than, let's say, the Wade 8084 Ultra that I showed before. The traction performance isn't the best on dust, and they're also really stiff and bulky, especially in the heel area. So I had high hopes. I thought this could really be an S tier shoe, but sadly they ended up in C tier. Then we have the Anta KT9, and for me they're going to be a B tier. The thing holding them back from A tier is that they're also a little bit clunky, a little bit bulky, but don't get me wrong, they're a very, very nice performer. So if you're looking for a nice cushion shoe in the heel and a supportive shoe, and if you don't mind the bulk of it, then they're probably an A for you. But for me, they're just right there in the B tier. As I said in the beginning, B tier is still very good shoes, just some things holding them back. Then we have probably one of my favorite shoes of all time, the Way of Wade 10. They're going to go straight into the S tier shoe, probably the best basketball shoe ever made. If you haven't had a pair, I highly recommend you try them out. And the KD17 will go into the B tier. For me, I would have had the KD16 in the S tier if I had made this video last year. I love the KD16. The 17s, they're not good enough for A tier in my opinion. They are just too stiff in the forefoot. I know they have this top-loaded shank plate there now, but you can really feel the cushioning setup that's underneath, which was something that was so nice about the 16s. So well-rounded and so cushioned, so comfortable. And the 17s for me just aren't as good, even though they fit my white feet surprisingly well for a KD shoe. Then we have the Nike LeBron 21, and I'm also going to put them in A tier. The thing that's holding them back for me is that they're 200 euros or dollars, some colorways 220, 230, 240, and they don't have a true carbon fiber shank plate like the LeBron 20 had. We only have a plastic shank, and sometimes I can really feel that if I do hard lateral stops, I can feel the shoe almost twisting up on itself and on my feet, and I just don't like that. Then moving on to the Jordan 39, that's probably going to be a B tier shoe. Sadly, the Jordan 38 would have been a no. The 38 low would have probably been in A or S tier, and the 39 falls down another tier just because they also don't have a shank plate, and you're paying 200 euros dollars for no shank plate at all. That's really insane. So that's why they fell off a cliff a little bit there. The Jimmy Butler 2, I'm probably going to put them in A tier. No, I think they're also more of a B tier shoe. Very solid overall performer, great traction performance, nice carbon fiber shank plate as well. Cushioning setup is comfortable, but I just didn't like the overall feel of the shoe as much. They're a little bit similar to Curry's, with more cushioning, but it kind of makes it weird because the Currys are so low to the ground, and then with the Butlers, you're pretty high in the heel area. So for me, they're just a little bit of a weird shoe, a weird mix, and that's why they're in the B tier. Then we've got the LeBron Next Gen. I never tried the Next Gen AMPD, but the new regular Next Gen is an A tier performer in my opinion. Pretty similar to the LeBron 20, just that the materials were different and the cushioning setup was different. That's why not an S tier, but a really, really good performer. The Puma MB1 is actually also an A tier performer for me. They're still releasing, that's why they're on this list if you're wondering. Very nice cushioning setup. Traction performance, be careful if you're on dusty court, that's why they're in the A tier, not the S tier. Support is great, materials are insanely comfortable, price was also decent. For me, an A tier shoe. Then we have the SBO Player One Plus. They're also going to go into the A tier, a really, really good Kobe alternative. Drop in midsole, great traction performance, don't need as much break-in as the Game One that I had before. Where did I put them? Here in the C tier. And overall, just a very, very solid shoe and great alternative if you liked the older Kobe models. Then we've got the Wade Flash. They're going to be a B tier shoe for me. Very solid performance, don't do anything crazy well, but they can be worn as a lifestyle shoe and a basketball shoe, which is always nice. So they go right into the B tier. The Jason Tatum 2, right next to the Wade Flash. Nothing that really stands out. Maybe the cushioning setup, but I just didn't enjoy them as much as I thought I would. They improved some areas that were terrible on Tatum 1, like durability and the full length cushioning setup and support. They improved that, but it's just still not more than a B tier. Another shoe from New Balance, the last one from them, it's going to go right into the A tier, the New Balance Two-Way Volume 4. Very, very nice performer. The Two-Way Volume 5 is right around the corner. Maybe you can get them on sale. Great traction performance, very, very nice cushioning setup. Actually, when I first got exactly this colorway, the cushioning setup felt terrible, trash, absolutely like something I've never felt before. Then I got another colorway and it was insanely comfortable right off the box. So I don't know if there was like some kind of factory flaw with my pair there, but the cushioning setup is, or should be, really, really nice unless you also get a pair like I did. That's why they're in the A tier. The thing that's holding them back a little bit is the support features of the shoe and maybe also the materials. They're not the most premium. I like them, but if you want something thicker, something more sturdy, that's why they're in the A tier. Then the Jordan Zion 3, that's going to be a no. Way too narrow, terrible performance on dusty courts. That's already enough to say that there should be a no. You're just slipping and sliding all around the court. And if you have normal sized feet, they're going to be narrow. And if you have wide feet, you probably won't even fit into the shoe. The Puma MB3 is, in my opinion, between the no and the C. I don't hate everything about this shoe, but probably for general consumer and for my liking as well, they're going to go into the no. I actually played a couple of games with them last year, but it was just not a very pleasant experience. They're very bulky as well, very heavy, and you're also high off the ground. The cushioning setup is nice, traction performance is alright. It's not the best, it's not the worst. On dusty courts, it's terrible like every Puma shoe. Support is something that's very, very good, so I actually do recommend this shoe for centers that are playing on clean courts. If you need a lot of support, if you need good cushioning, I would go for them. But apart from that, if you're a guard, I would definitely stay away from them. Puma MB4 is also right around the corner. Looks terrible in my personal opinion. I think the line should really change something up with the design as well. The MB1 was such a big success. The MB2 was nice, but now the 3 and the 4, I don't really like the look of the shoe itself. So I think they should definitely change something up. And last but not least, we've got the Anta Shockwave 5. For me, they're a B tier shoe, so a little bit underneath the Anta Kai 1. Simply because the overall support features are not as good. They're also a little bit stiff right out of the box, and the traction performance also is not as good as on the Anta Kai 1. With that being said, that's all the shoes I've tested this year. If I actually forgot a pair that I tested, you notice it, just let me know. And also if you want to know my opinion, in which tier I would put a shoe that's not on this list, just let me know as well down in the comments below. If you enjoyed watching, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It would help me out a lot. If you're new here, I'm a professional player reviewing basketball shoes. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. See you next time and have a good one.